If you're living in America right now, I'm about to tell you the one thing Thailand can offer that America can never offer, and why right now you're a slave to the money you get in America. And that one thing is simply just your time. And what I mean by that is, say for example, if you take in my beautiful apartment here where I'm paying a whopping $400 a month, my utilities overall are basically like 50 bucks a month. So you can essentially say in total, I'm paying about 500 USD for this pretty much glorious apartment. Now in the US, this would have been a whopping like 2K, 3K, I already know, because before I moved here, I was living in Los Angeles where I was paying $1,700 for a 2-bedroom apartment with a full kitchen and living room. And that was considered an exceptionally good deal. I pretty much only got that because the person that ran the apartment just really loved me. She was like basically a grandmother to me. But for the normal people living in Los Angeles, and just for the normal people living in America in general, you're going to be working like a dog to have any sort of formal state of living. So for example, pretty much all apartments in Thailand come fully furnished, so you don't have to buy furniture at all. Anywhere you go in America, you have to buy furniture. That obviously makes the cost exceptionally expensive, because anytime you move, it's going to cost way more money than necessary just to even have furniture in the apartment, which means obviously moving is going to be more difficult in general. In Thailand, you don't have this issue. And also, once again, they're just more expensive, meaning that to even get a decent apartment, you're gonna have to sit down and really work heavy hours to even have some money. And a lot of jobs will try to give you incentive, like, hey, if you work, for example, we'll give you a pizza party or popsicles or whatever. But like in the end, it's not more money. Because trust me, the main thing jobs will do is offer you everything but money for your work. Well, so what you end up doing is you end up working these long hours where you're sweating, trying to just make a little bag, just to have a little apartment and just to do the normal things you do every day, but just do them without breaking your bank. And so the main thing is, do you want to live like this? Do you want to live your whole life sitting there working a job you don't like, just to maintain a very expensive overhead that is difficult to maintain because you have to buy furniture, you have to buy expensive housing, you have to pay expensive utility bills, all for a job that doesn't even maintain you? Because one thing in Thailand, especially if you get a work visa here, is that it is very difficult to get fired. Here, if you get a job, pretty much you get that job for life, because unless you go and drunk every day for like 2 years, they're not going to fire you. And even when they do fire you, you get compensation that lasts for 6 months. So basically unemployment in the United States. But in Thailand, for example, they do not have the thing they do in America where they can just fire you for no reason with no explanation. They have to give an explanation not only to you, but to the government. And if they cannot provide that, they cannot fire you. Hence why Thais never get fired. So you have protection. Wait, but before we go on and continue, make sure you go and hit that like button and make sure hit that follow button if you want more videos like this. You have protection even as an apartment buyer. When you get the apartment, the apartments are cheap, and so they shouldn't have to pay that much. And also you have protection as a buyer when it comes to apartments. If you want to get an apartment, there's no credit in Thailand. As long as you got the money, you got it. So there's no, oh my God, the last apartment, the last person you rented from, they didn't like you and they gave you a bad credit report or whatever for your apartment. None of that. It's just, do you got the money? Yes or no? If you got the money, you got the apartment. Also, utilities here are super cheap and they're negotiable. In the United States, one thing I never like is nothing is negotiable. Now that has a plus and a minus in that, like say if you find someone that's, giving you a really bad price, you obviously will overpay. But in most cases, you will end up paying a really good price for what you're getting. For example, right now my internet speed is like 300 megabytes upload, 300 megabytes download, which is insanely fast, even for the United States. When I was living in the US, I think my upload speed was max 75 megabits per second. And my download speed was max 50 megabytes per second. So average. Here, I'm paying substantially a fraction of the price. I'm basically paying 20% of what I was paying in the US for an internet speed that's 6 times as fast. And it came with free installation. And on top of that, I get to take the box with me when I leave. So if I go to a different apartment, I can just take the box with me. Not saying you can't do that in the US, but every time you do it's going to come with a new install. Here in Thailand, not the case. Most apartments already have that installed. My apartment was a specifically new case in that I'm the first person renting it currently, so obviously no one had installed it previously. But I'm telling you, twin, you're letting the money of the US get you, trick you. I've seen so many people be out here in the US with just like fancy Ferraris and super fancy cars, and then they have like a really nice apartment, but they working like a dog to maintain that. I used to know this one girl in LA. She had a really crazy expensive sports car that she used to like to drive around. And then she had a really nice apartment. I mean, even nicer than mine. And she was paying like maybe 2.5K. And keep in mind, I'm an engineer. We make bank in the US. I mean, I was pulling in on average 150K per year. So Shorty was doing like HR, which I know at max they pull in like 80K a year. So not that much, especially when you're talking about Los Angeles. And I remember this girl would drive an hour and a half to work every day. So to and from work, that's 3 hours of not even getting paid. Then on top of that, would work long hours just to maintain those 2 items, just her nice apartment, some places she liked to eat, and just her nice car. Is that really worth it? You're gonna spend most of your life working this job to maintain 3 things that you don't even own. You don't own the apartment, and you never will unless you're gonna buy the whole thing. There's no rent to own option in America for most apartments. The places you eat at, fine, you can eat them as much as you want. And then your car is gonna take a long time to pay off. That car she probably had is probably like 70 bands. At her salary range, it's gonna take a long time to pay it off. So essentially, you're not really paying for anything. So why not move somewhere else where those things cost substantially less and you can actually enjoy your time more?
If you guys have any questions about Thailand and want to book a one-on-one meeting with me, you can ask me all your questions regarding visas, visitation, finding housing, pretty much anything to live in Thailand. You can find it so down in the comments. Also down there as well, you'll find a link to my one-on-one coding mentorship. There I will teach you in person, weekly, how to code from scratch and how to get long-term remote work so that way you can stay in Thailand and live comfortably.
I feel like the one thing people really forget about is the most important thing in life is just time. Just being able to use your time as you want. That means you can wake up what a time you want to, do what you want to, without having to worry about, oh my God, am I gonna be able to afford rent this month, every month? I'm not saying you're not gonna have to work, and people don't have to work, you definitely do, but you should do it in a way that's smart, meaning you should reduce your costs as much as possible while maintaining the same level of quality. In the US, that is simply not possible. If you want to have nice things in the US, they're gonna cost a lot of money. Even for Thai people, the same thing applies, but it's substantially more even. And that even the average Thai person who makes an average budget, which is like 10K a month, can afford an apartment of their own. I can say for a fact, I do not know a single person in Los Angeles, unless they make a lot of money, that can work one job and afford an apartment completely on their own. I don't know one person. Most of the time when I see people in the US that are working, they're working at least 2 jobs or at least have a roommate or a couple roommates to be able to afford to live because they can't live on their own unless they make a substantial amount of money. And then people that do make a lot of money in Thailand, lawyers, doctors, engineers, IT, they can afford a really nice place and really not have any issue because they make enough money and the price is so cheap that it makes it substantially easier for them to afford what they really want and the quality of life they want. So twin, I'm telling you, gang, I'm telling you, y'all gotta leave the US and get out of that mindset the US is giving you that, oh, we are the best country, because I'm telling you, they are not. The US, honestly, on God, is probably one of the worst countries to live in because it's super expensive. Transportation is very difficult in pretty much every part of the US that's not like New York, Boston, LA. And even those are okay at best. Like really, probably the best is like smaller cities that have transportation. So getting around is very difficult and expensive. You need a car everywhere you go. Your rent is expensive, your utilities is expensive, the crime is bad. And also people in the US are just kind of a little bit more difficult to deal with. People in Thailand, much easier to deal with. They'll help you out in everything. There's so many times in the US where I ask for just generic assistance with things and find that Americans just don't want to help. You know what I mean? In Thailand, you'll never get that. If you say, hey, excuse me, Swati Kap, I'm trying to find information out about my internet, how to pay and all that stuff, they'll just pay it for you, or, and just say, oh, just send me the money. It's simple stuff. It's mad easy. And I'm telling you, if you get out of that mindset that the US is the best and like this is the best place to live in the world, and you move out of the country to somewhere that actually wants you, that actually appreciates your money and your time, you have a much better quality of life. But that pretty much ends it for today, guys. Now, Tony, if you love this video, why don't you check out my video here on the new visa updates that Thailand's introducing, or maybe more interested in what's like being black in Thailand? Well, you can find my video on that here. In either case, I'll see you guys next time. Wah!